plane probably flew itself after the news.
I was sitting on the plane waiting to take off when I finally got Sarah's email, and I couldn't confirm it, and I had to shut off my
Your phone?
My phone, and I had to wait for 4 hours to land in Portland before I could confirm that it was actually, like, because I was like, what if Sarah like mixed something up, and like, and then I was like panicked for 4 hours.
Sarah wouldn't do that to you.
No, I didn't ever think she would do it. It was just like, what if something was like wrong, like I misunderstood something, you know, and I was just a mess for 4 hours. But then I got a confirmation and everything was good. So who are we waiting for? Renee and Abby and Alice. There's Abby.
You got your project done, Gina?
Oh, my septic project?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I have a brand new septic tank. It's really cool.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, the grass is always greener over the septic tank.
I think that's how I know I'm a real grown-up, when I'm excited about a new septic tank.
So does everyone else have this new Google Meet like layout? It's really wonky. Not wonky, it's just I guess I'm not used to it.
Yeah,
Sonia,
everything's at the bottom now.
Do you know that you can pin people to the main screen so that they don't move around as much?
No, I didn't know that.
I think if you hover over names, you'll see a little pin.
Does that pin them in place?
I think it at least pins them so they're not moving around as other people are coming in and out of the meeting. I have never done it, but I just noticed it and I was like, oh, because this new, I'm also very thrown by this new interface.
Yeah, but how do I unpin them? Oh, right there. Because that just made Guy really big when I just pinned him. So I'm not sure that's what I want to do.
Oh, interesting. I'll play with it a little bit.
So I'm going to get started because Alice said she might be running late, and it's 5:31. So we're already recording. So I'll call the meeting to order.
Sonia?
Yes.
We have one unknown phone number ending in 02.
Yeah.
So,
Hi, Andrea. It's Rachel Van Fleet.
hi, thank you.
Okay. All right. So we'll get started. Thanks, Andrea. So are there any additions or deletions for the agenda? Actually, I'd look for a motion to approve the agenda, and then we'll discuss additions or deletions. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Guy.
Thanks, Guy. Second from Sarah. Okay. Thanks, Tim. Are there any additions or deletions?
Sonia, I can give a brief update on the last governance meeting, probably on 7.8, I guess.
Okay. CVCC governance. Okay, perfect. Any other additions or deletions? We do need to delete 5.4, or actually just table it. I think we are going to, the finance committee is going, usually the finance committee meets before this meeting, but because of the vote yesterday, we pushed that to next week. So the finance committee is going to review that on Tuesday. So we're going to push that 5.4 to later in June. So we could leave it in there as a placeholder, but we're going to just table it for now. The other thing that we can delete is the BEA grievance hearing 5.9. that has been resolved, so we do not need to have a hearing. And 6.2, we're also going to delete because those financials have not been reviewed yet by the Finance Committee. So we're going to wait and do that, and we will look at those financials on our second meeting in June. Is there anything else that we need to add or delete?
Sonia, I do have a resignation. I'll present it verbally. It's not in the packet. It just came in today.
Okay, so under 5.2.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Anything else? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the agenda as amended, please signify with thumbs up. Guy? Yes. Sarah? Yes. Tim? Yes. Gina? Yes. Wait a minute, I lost Gina. There you are, sorry. Chris? Yes. Abby? Yes. Renee? Yes, thank you. Alice hasn't come in yet, has she? Okay, so that, hold on one second, Andrea, that the agenda is approved and I don't see Alice yet. Andrea, go ahead.
We've had two more join by phone, phone number ending 19 and phone number ending 39. So we need to identify these individuals for the record.
Okay. I think the number ending in 39 is trying to unmute, but it keeps like flashing between mute and unmute. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. Can the number ending in 19, could you please identify yourself? Okay.
Star 6 to unmute, I believe.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on with 39 and 19.
Is the meeting owner able to unmute them?
It keeps flashing. It looks like it's unmuting and then muting, and I don't know what's going on.
Unfortunately, I do not have the controls to mute or unmute people.
I think it's star 6 to unmute, but I wonder also if the person could put it in the chat also. They could put their name in the chat.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. This is Jim Werbinski, 19.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I pushed 86.
Hello,
That's great. Oh, go ahead.
39 Sue Paxman.
Thanks, Sue.
Do I
Okay.
press star 6 again to mute?
Yes, I believe you do.
That's
Okay,
right.
thanks.
And was it Tim? I'm sorry. The
Jim.
19. Yep. You want to
Jim.
Jim?
Jim.
Sorry, Jim.
Yes.
You
Yep.
want to hit star, is it star 6?
That's right.
To mute yourself again. Otherwise, we'll be able to hear anything that's happening on your end of the phone.
So hit star 6 now,
Yes.
and then I'm going to go back to mute. Will you be able to hear me?
We won't until, oh, I'm guessing you're here for public comment.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so just hold on. Don't mute yourself yet because we're moving to public comment right now.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, hold on one second. All right, so Andrea, I think you've got everybody now.
Yeah, I think we're all set now.
Okay, so we'll move to public comment. 3.1 is public comment. And Jim, I know you had sent an email and you had a comment that you wanted to make for something that's not on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm here to talk tonight about the indoor graduation.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions to ask.
Okay.
So my first question is I looked on the calendar and I'm trying to figure out when the last day of school is for senior class.
Okay. Is this all pertaining to the high school?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's going to take about 5 minutes to get through it, maybe less, but
So,
I'm just-
what I'm wondering is if, rather than, we can certainly answer your questions. Do you have questions directly about the indoor graduation is a, backup
I'm
plan.
gonna work up to the indoor graduation, but there's some things that I'd like to talk about.
Okay,
So, all right.
go ahead.
So my question is graduation is being held on the 26th of June. And I'm just trying to figure out why it is being held so late in the school year or in the calendar year.
Okay, that's your
Sonny,
So-
this is Brenda. Do you want me to try to answer the questions as we go along? Because if this is a lot of questions, I'm not sure we'll remember how to answer all of his questions.
Sure, that would be great.
Okay, so the last student day is actually this coming Friday, the 18th. However, that's a recent change. Our original calendar was set for the last day to be the 21st. And based on the 21st being the last student day originally, the graduation was set for the following Saturday, which is our tradition of the 26th.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Which is
Okay,
next Saturday.
all right. So, my next is indoor graduation. As I take it, there is no parents allowed for the indoor graduation.
So Jim,
Yep.
you and I spoke briefly a little bit ago. So
Right.
as you suggested, we've looked into the gymnasium and it will allow for 2 people if we have to maintain the distance, and
Okay.
possibly up to 6 if
So it's
the
getting-
guidance
it's getting-
changes.
It's getting moved into the gymnasium.
Yes, if we have an
if it is-
indoor
if it's in-
graduation.
It's getting moved to the indoor. If it moves into the gymnasium, we're allowed up to 2 people.
If the guidance remains unchanged, we are still hoping that the guidance
Right.
gets changed, which may allow as many as 6 per graduate.
Okay. All right. So we're just waiting on governors to.
Correct.
Okay. That's
And
what I was
the-
wondering.
And the
Okay.
students, we have graduation practice on the 23rd, and that's when we will issue the tickets that the students will have, that they will issue to whoever their chosen guests are at that time. And so at that time, we would be able to make the determination if it would be 2, 6, or everywhere in between.
Okay. I was curious on that because I looked at the email earlier this week and it still said it said that people were going to be invited, but it just said that we were waiting for guideline updates. So,
Correct, because I
okay.
didn't want to give
And
people
then-
a specific number until we get that guidance.
Okay. So if it is indoors, are faculty members allowed to go to this graduation?
No, it would not be faculty other than the ones involved in the actual ceremony and support for the
Okay.
graduation.
Okay. And then I guess my last question is, you're answering my question. So my last question is, this has got to do with parking permits for students. It has nothing to do with graduation. It's just something that I've been wanting to talk about. Parking permits. Does faculty pay for the parking permit as well?
No,
No. Where does that money that's made from the students parking go to?
It goes towards the t-shirts that are given out to students.
It goes to what?
We have t-shirt prizes that are awarded to students.
So the
it
permit
helps.
money goes directly back to the students?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I hope we answered all your questions, and thanks, Brenda, for helping with that. I appreciate it.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
And
Now,
I'm hoping for sunny days too.
absolutely, we all are. Fingers are crossed.
Absolutely, but not 95.
That
No.
would be,
No.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there anyone else here who would like to make a public comment for something that's not on the agenda? Okay, hearing Josh Howard, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
I'm just have a quick question here. Is it possible to get the question onto the agenda to make the negotiations public? Is that possible at some point? Is that something we can discuss?
Well, I can tell you that we can't make, we've already discussed approve the agenda for tonight. And so we can't add anything to it, but we could talk about why negotiations aren't public and we could add it to another agenda. I can tell you very quickly that negotiations it went to the, I don't know if it went to the Supreme Court or the Labor Board, but we are not allowed to negotiate in public in the state of Vermont. And you could probably Google that to find that out, but we're not allowed to do that, which is why those meetings are not done as public meetings. So we won't be able to invite anybody from the public anytime soon. It's an interesting ruling. It's a meeting that's not a meeting, and so we can't do it in a public setting. We could if
the last negotiations meeting was sent out as notice, and they had a public comment section there. I tried to sign in and was not allowed to sign in, wasn't allowed to give a public comment. I just want to know what the rules are in that one as to why there was a notice with the agenda with a public comment on there, but no one from the public's allowed to come in and make a public comment before you guys went to executive session.
So I'll tell you that the only time we don't warn negotiation sessions, we warn committee meetings, and that's when our committee meets. And so that's the only time that you would have the opportunity to come into a negotiation session. And I'm guessing it was just an oversight that it wasn't, you weren't allowed to come in. And so I apologize for that. You could certainly come in and make a public comment, and then we would go into executive session because those committee meetings are public, but the board is the only, the members of the committee are the only people that are in that meeting, and our advisors are, our HR person, our business manager, superintendent, that kind of thing. So
would it be possible to get the negotiation committee to have the executive session for negotiations become public again?
No, because it's against the law at this point. We're not allowed to do it. And our attorney that we use for negotiations is the one that argued it, and our side did not win. So it is a non-meeting meeting, and we are not allowed to have it in public unless the teachers union agrees to that we can meet in public, which we've asked, and we have not agreed to that yet. So no. I hope that answers your question. If you have any more questions about negotiations, I'm happy to try to help you with that. We could have a discussion about that separately. Is there anybody else here who would like to make a public comment for something not on the agenda? Hearing none, I see no hands raised. I will move on. Is there anyone here who would like to make a comment under student voice? Are there any students who would like to make a comment? Josh, I'm guessing you're not a student, but you have your hand raised again.
Yeah, sorry, I was there. I had a question about teacher insurance as far as which state agency they go through. Is it the Blue Cross Blue Shield through Vermont? Is it the MVP? So I've been kind of looking into the Green Mountain Care stuff and watching insurance rates, what they're supposed to be going with. And it could either be a good thing for next year or a really bad thing for next year. I just want to know which ones are in our district are, because the state either uses Blue Cross Blue Shield or MVP through the Vermont site, or if you guys are going through as group insurance, because the difference is like companies and non-individuals are going to get like 8% decrease next year in insurance rates versus if they go through the state, it's 17% increase. So just trying to figure this out.
The teachers get their insurance through an organization called VHI, VEHI, and that's how we get our insurance. So I'm not sure. I would say you may be able to contact Lisa or Carol, Lisa Pearl or Carol Merrill, and they may be able to direct you to the VHI site. I don't really, I'm not sure, and they may be able to speak to what those rates are looking like, but it's not directly from a carrier, and it's not through, it's through this organization called VHI.
I might have those links. Maybe I'll post them in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Gina. Okay, so we're going to move on to student voice. I don't think that there were any students that had raised their hand, so I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. And Alice, welcome. Thank you for joining us. All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the meeting minutes from May 26th and May 27th? Sam makes the motion with his thumbs up. Is there a second?
Second. Sarah. Second.
Thanks, Sarah. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify with a thumbs up. Guy, Sarah, Tim, Gina, Chris, Abby, Renee, Alice. I lost you. Where did she go?
Her camera's off, but she's here. But we can't see a thumbs up or not.
Okay, and there she is. Alice, do you approve the minutes? Uh-oh. I will say that the motion passes, even if Alice doesn't approve it. So the meeting minutes are approved. The consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to current business, which is 5.1, new hires. And David, would you like to walk us through those?
I sure would. Let me just pull them up. Okay, so I'm bringing before you this evening Carlos Diaz. Oh, just one moment. I need to let someone into the meeting. I'm the gatekeeper as well. Carlos Diaz is being recommended as a digital media arts instructor at the Career Center. He is replacing Cal Hopwood. Next, I'm recommending Durin Dorfman as a literacy interventionist at Berrytown Middle School, middle and elementary. This is a grant-funded position. Next, as I scroll, just one moment. Here we go. I'm also recommending Kathy Eli at Berrytown as a literacy interventionist. This is again funded through ESSER. And as I scroll, I also bring to you Charlotte Murphy as a restorative classroom teacher at Berry City Elementary Middle School. And this is an additional restorative classroom. And next, pardon me while I scroll through my documents. This is just for your information. This is a transfer, but a new position. Karen Fredericks is transferring from being our literacy coordinator to being our MTSS coordinator. Her contract will have 20 additional days, so she'll receive a stipend in addition to her regular pay. This is ESSER funded, and this is a great benefit to the district to have MTSS coordination. And the next one is I need to explain a little bit, and I think I'll need to get some additional paperwork, but you know this person. I'm presenting Rebecca Mortensen, who worked for us as a special education teacher, and now is going to be recommended for the Assistant Director of Special Services. So that will move her to an administrator. And I know that Chris Parker and Sonia, you had some questions. And it is true that Rebecca had resigned. She was going to pursue a position in a neighboring district, in another district, but she instead decided to apply for this position, and we're glad to have her. She's well qualified. But I think this might need to require me to present to the board the new hire paperwork, because technically she left us briefly, even though she's been in the building the whole time. And I will take care of that.
So technically we are looking for a motion to hire, and I'm going to do this in two parts, because in the past, Alice had asked for administrative positions to be separate. So
that's true. Mm-hmm.
So I look for a motion to approve hiring for Carlos Diaz, Kathy Eli. Is that right?
That's right.
Doreen Dorfman and Charlotte Murphy. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I would look for a motion to hire those candidates as presented and recommended by the superintendent.
I'll make that motion, Sonia.
Thanks, Guy.
I'll second.
And thanks, Sarah. Are there any questions or comments or discussion? The only question I have, David, is under Doreen Dorfman. I guess it's Doreen. There's nothing checked under AOE endorsement, yes or no. I'm assuming that that's going to require a yes.
Right, and I'm sorry, that's an oversight, and she is a licensed educator. We'll make sure that that's taken care of.
I assumed so, but I just wanted to double check. Okay, any other questions? Josh, Howard?
Yes, I was just wondering if we're going to have a discussion on what it would look like without these replacement hires and new hires, and what alternatives we can come up with, and just kind of look at it objectively instead of disapproving. What would the school system, what would the classes look like? What would the day-to-day look like? How would it work if you didn't have any applicants for these positions? What would the alternatives at that point? Just kind of look at objectively to see, do we need to hire these people?
I could probably speak to that, but David, would you like to answer that question?
Sure, I'd be glad to. So, we've spoken about these positions before. Some of them, well, we haven't gotten to the assistant special ed director, which was in our budget. The literacy interventionists that are coming on board are going to help provide remediation to our students. We see that as a critical need in the district, with approximately 60% of our students below proficiency. And then added on top of that, the diminishment of teaching, due to ESSER, due to COVID rather. So we see these as necessary positions to help our students meet proficiency and catch up. And it's sort of a long-term goal for Barre schools. The restorative classroom at Barre City School, again, this is number one, right for kids to provide a supportive classroom that's in their school that can help them be successful, but it also makes economic sense. because if these students were not in the classroom due to their needs, which are high needs that can't be met in the regular classroom, they might be placed in outside placements, which are quite expensive. So it's good for kids to stay in their home school, and it saves money in the long run.
Great,
And what would it
thanks.
like without them? I'm sorry, what would that look like without those positions? I mean, and what kind of, would the brief efficiency get even worse? Would it still increase? What's the level of test here to see if it's actually working?
Yeah, that is a good question. You know, these additional interventionists are a part of our recovery plan that we submit to the state. It is based on our data, and in our recovery plan, we will review our data to see the progress that the students are making. It's the right thing to do, and the state wants us to prove that we're using our grant funding wisely. If we didn't have the interventionists, we have qualified teachers, but still they wouldn't be able to reach all of their students. The students wouldn't make the progress that we would want to see. If we didn't have the restorative classroom, as I said, we would have students who very likely would need outside placements. That's not in their best interest. Even if it's a qualified program, it's better for them to be in their school, and it costs more money to do that.
And I guess my final question would be, hold on, I'm drawing a blank here all of a sudden. Actually, I'll have to get back to you on that one. I totally drew a blank. I'm sorry.
Next up, Hayden, I see your hand is raised, but Sarah's ahead of you. So Sarah, go ahead, and then Hayden, you're next.
Thank you. David, could you tell us for the 2 literacy positions that are grant funded, is the grant covering just 1 year or is it multi-year?
It is a multi-year grant, but then at the end of the grant funding, they'll either need to be brought under the tent, so to speak, through attrition, or perhaps through the consolidated federal grant. But the expectation is that when the grant funding is gone, then there'd either need to be a RIF or they'd need to be incorporated in some other way.
Okay, thank you. And I've just for the public, we've already spoken about that in finance, about having the business office keep track of that. So thank you.
And Hayden, you're next.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to speak to the restorative classroom teaching position. And we're working on hiring a licensed mental health clinician for that classroom as well. Those will both be under the ESSER grants. But I wanted to share that a piece of data. We had the first year of our restorative classroom this year entirely grant funded with our own folks, and I've shared a lot of data. But as we come to the end of this year, I think it's important to share, on average in our grade levels, we have 3 to 4 students per grade level that are either outplaced or have a 1-to-1 BI like Washington County or Green Mountain Care. Currently in our first grade and our kindergarten, we have 0 students with Washington County mental health BIs, and we have 0 students outplaced by schools. So and now those classes are progressing up, so we're really making that movement of internalizing a lot of this work rather than sending it out. So if we don't hire this position, it would probably cost in the $300,000 to $400,000 range more than with overages for special ed and for regular ed outplacements.
Thanks. That's really good information. Okay, so there's a motion on the table to hire these 4 candidates, right?
Sonia, I see that Andrea has her hand up too. I don't know if that's for this or left over.
It's funny because I can see that her hand is raised, but it's not in my list that her hand is raised, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Oh, it's lowered.
Thank you, Chris. We have 1, 2, 3, we have 4 candidates, and we have a motion on the table. So if there are no other questions, I would like all those in favor of approving the recommendation from the superintendent, please signify with a thumbs up. Guy, Sarah, Tim, Gina, Chris, Abby, Renee, and Alice. Great. Okay, so the motion passes and the candidates are approved. Thank you very much for that. Next, David, you presented Karen Fredericks, which is just a transfer, so we don't have to do anything with that. And so that's just presented for our information. I will ask for, I'm not sure if Carol's on this call. Oh, she is, I see her. I wonder, in the past, we've gotten a spreadsheet that indicates different, where like there's different people who are kind of like moving and transferring, and then, you know, that opens up new positions. And I wonder if we could get just an update on how that's going and where people are transferring to, because we don't always see these transfers, especially if it's just, you know, like from a 3-4 grade to a 1-2 grade or something. So I just was wondering if we could just get an update on how what's happening with that movement for our next meeting.
I can have that for you.
Thank you so much. Guy?
Yeah, just a quick question. Carol, so how are vacancies looking in terms of numbers?
We have too many openings. We're having a lot of trouble in special education. We still have open classrooms. So the number's going up and down, but we're adding some for ESSER grants as well, so it looks a little bit longer than it normally does. But we are having a tough recruiting year.
Thank you. And just to follow up on Hayden's comment, I think because we have a few public on the call, what is the average cost of an outplacement for our school? Because I think that's important for people to know.
It depends on a lot of factors, guys, so I wouldn't be able to give you an average. I'm sure we could get an average, obviously, but you know, an outplacement to some programs is over $100,000 per year, and like a one-to-one BI can be between $30,000 to $50,000 per year for one child. And I see Stacy had her hand up, maybe, so she might be able to elaborate more.
Go ahead, Stacy.
I was just going to volunteer to bail you out, Hayden, if you needed any of that information, but you're correct. Placement and alternative placements are typically between 80,000 and 120,000, depending on where it is. And BI services, Hayden is correct, are somewhere between probably 40 to 70,000, depending again on which provider we go through, or whether it's a year-round service that is provided for the student. So it's costly.
So thank you for that, because, you know, I think it's been our goal as a district to try to, you know, pull back from, you know, placing students out of the district. I think that's why we've, you know, supported the C project. So while it may not, you know, result in immediate savings, I think it has a lot of potential given what it's been costing us.
And if I can just respond to Guy there a little bit, Sonia, I agree. I think one of the really hard challenges of this is that you don't necessarily see the costs at the bottom line, because we can't budget and predict necessarily who's going to need some of these services. We do our best, obviously. So when we avoid a student entering a program like that, you never kind of see that, because you know, you would only see it if they entered the program. You never see the bill, so you don't see the negative bill either. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Guy, did that help?
Yes, thank you.
Josh, Howard, do you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I guess my question is for as far as administrators going in these roles, because we're talking about costs and all that kind of stuff and being able to work with students. What kind of caseload are these administrators actually going to see dealing with an actual student, or are they just behind the scenes paper pushers and check catchers?
So before we go down too many rabbit holes, because we're on basically 5.1 at this point on our agenda, I would recommend that because we could probably talk about hiring in positions all night long, but since we have a very full agenda, I would encourage you maybe to reach out to our director of special ed, and she may be able to answer some of your questions. So I'm going to just, because we don't have time, and although this is a meeting with the public invited, it's not a meeting of the public, and we don't necessarily have time to answer all of these questions. So I'd recommend that you just reach out to Stacy about that. Chris Hennessy?
Thanks, Sonia. Josh, I once again want to extend an invitation to have a conversation with you about any number of these positions, where I'd be happy to explain with Stacy, with others, the essential nature of why these positions are needed. So I just want to extend that invitation once again.
Thanks, Chris. And Alice?
Yes, just as a point of interest that might assist Mr. Howard is that you might want to go to the federal website that deals with IDEA, and that is an overlying federal legislation that deals with special education, and that impacts all local schools in the United States and their territories. So if you just want to look at that for a little bit and see what it all entails, that might help you out a little bit in understanding what the necessity is for having individuals who manage the special education in a particular school district. It's not local, it's not state, it's overridden by the feds. So it's an interesting read, and I recommend that you check it out.
Thanks, Alice. That's a good suggestion. So next up is Rebecca Mortensen. And David, would your suggestion be that we go ahead and table this, or should we, although this is on a transfer form, it's really a new hire, it sounds like. The paperwork would be very similar. It just would be new hire, would all have the same information, I'm assuming. It would just be a new hire paper instead of a transfer. Okay, you're on mute. Hold on.
Okay, finally, there we go. Thank you for your patience. And just as I unmute, the loud motorcycles go by. So in any event, I would recommend that the board approve this nomination for these positions, particularly Rebecca's. As you said, the paperwork is very similar, and this would allow her to get ready for the new position.
Okay. So I'm going to entertain a motion for hiring Rebecca Mortensen for the position of Assistant Director of Special Services. And I see, Guy, you have your hand raised, but is it a procedure question, or is it a question that we can discuss while we're talking about the approval of the candidate?
I was going to make the motion to.
Thank you, Guy. Go. Okay. And can I get a second?
I'll second, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay. Go ahead, Chris.
I had a question. Does Rebecca have an administrative license?
David, you're on mute.
David, you're on mute.
Again, yes. I don't believe that she does, but she's eligible for that, and we will make sure that she either is able to get that or is on a provisional.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any other questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of hiring Rebecca Mortensen for the position of Assistant Director of Special Services, please indicate with a thumbs up. Guy, Sarah, Tim, Gina, Chris, Abby, Renee, Alice. Alice, is that a thumbs up? Okay, thank you. All right, the motion is approved and Rebecca is rehired. Welcome back, Rebecca. Okay, now we'll move on to, oh, actually, before we move on, could someone speak to or give us an update on the BCEMS middle school principal position?
Yes, I can give you a quick update.
Thank you.
Sure. The position was posted on May 27th, and we're going to leave it open until June 18th. We are still working out the timeline because, as you know, there are students and teachers and administrators on the team. So we are working out the timeline, trying to coordinate with the end of school and the beginning of summer vacation. And so we are hoping to have this probably mid-July, hopefully sooner, but we'll see how many candidates. We have 8 candidates so far. And that's where we are so far. We have one more person to add to the team, so I'll have a full team and a full schedule for you soon.
Okay, thank you. Chris, you have a question? Chris Parker?
Yeah, thank you. I saw on School Spring that position is posted as a 1-year interim. Is that due to the time of year it is right now, or is there some other reason for that?
Well, it's Chris Hennessy is moving into a superintendent interim, and this is replacing his position, so it's also interim.
Okay. I didn't realize that those two would be, one would be contingent upon the other.
It is.
Is it also, is there any, I mean, assuming that this had happened earlier in the process, would it necessarily be an interim position? Like if we were, if this was March, let's say, would it be an interim position for that? Or is it also partly because of where we are in the year?
Well, no, not the timing. It is open for 1 year. Chris may or may not go back into that position, so.
Okay. Is that, and how does that, so would Chris Hennessy have to reapply?
No, he is on a leave of absence, excuse me. Yes, a leave of absence from that position.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. Thanks. I did not know any of that. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay.
Chris, do you have any other questions? Chris Parker?
I don't have any other questions, but I am surprised to hear that. I didn't know anything about that. And so I am a little bit like, oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
I didn't either. Okay. Chris Hennessy?
I guess just to reassure people, I think to just add to what Carol is saying, indeed, it was very late in the year, both the superintendent's search and obviously still looking to replace my position, which in my experience, Carol, and maybe others here, it is typical at this time of year, much like what's happened at Union Elementary, Chris, given the late timing, since a lot of administrators are already under contract, to go this route. So I think it's a sound practice regardless. But Carol, if you have anything to add to that, please let me know.
No, I agree with that, Chris. And I would also add that any time of year, we would hope not to hire an interim. We're always looking for the best candidate to stay with our district. But that position is technically Chris's. So we will we'll have to hire an interim for 1 year, and then we will go from there. But it is a 1-year position at this point.
Okay, thanks, Carol. Tim?
Yeah, I thought that when Chris applied for this job that he knew he would be jeopardizing the old job. What has changed?
Are you asking me because I'm not sure?
I don't know what's changed unless something miraculously happened. But it was my understanding that he was applying for this job as superintendent, knowing full and well that he would be done with his job as a principal if he didn't get picked up to be a superintendent permanently.
Chris?
Yeah, guys, I'm gonna be really candid with you. This discussion's a little bit of a surprise to me. I want to reassure everybody here on the screen that I am all in. I am going into this position for the long haul. Candidly, I'm more excited, enthusiastic about it as each day goes on. So I want to reassure everybody here that I'm going into this for the long haul. I'm going to respect whatever process is brought forward. I understand it fully given the late nature of the search process, but I just want to be very, very clear that this is a position that I'm going 100% all into.
Well, I appreciate that, but that has nothing to do with the question I just asked. The position you left, you forfeited when you applied for this job. You forfeited it.
So Tim, I hear
I don't
you.
see it in the best interest to hire an interim when we can probably maybe get a real one.
Well, that may or may not be the case. I'm wondering, I mean, we hired a superintendent on an interim position because of the timing of the year, the time of year. And I also think that we need to take into consideration that I mean, this has never happened before. So I'm assuming that if this happened with another position and someone that we hired within for an administrative position, that was an interim position, we would do the same thing. You know, it would be a leave of absence from their current position. And then, but I mean, honestly, this has never happened before that we've hired an interim superintendent or hired an interim principal. So we're sort of in the last 10 years I've been on the board in uncharted waters. So that may be where some of the surprise is coming from. I know I didn't realize it either. And so it was unclear to me. Guy, I have Guy's hand up and then Alice.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Chris's statement at face value. He knows what he's getting into. He told us that at the interview. He's going to put his best foot forward, and if that's his best foot forward, then he's going to be here more than 1 year. Now, on the other hand, what he also told us was, he loves this area. He loves this school, and if for some reason we decided that he wasn't the right fit as superintendent, he certainly has been the right fit as a principal. And so, from my perspective, you know what, folks, let it go. Number two is, the recent hiring of multi-year contracts is pretty recent. Okay, we've been hiring administrators now from year to year for quite a while until recently. So, from my perspective, it's a moot point. But
Thanks, Guy. Alice, you're on mute. Alice,
sorry. Hearing all this discussion and recognizing that many of the folks on the board were not aware of this, I would respectfully request that we table this and have a discussion either as a executive session for personnel or after everybody, or in public meeting after everyone has been fully informed of what's happening, because I'm just a little concerned that changing horses in midstream may not be the best optics for everyone. So we need to fully understand what's going on.
So I hear what you're saying, Alice, and I would agree with you, but the reason that I'm this came up because of the conversation about the position of interim school principal. It's not about Chris Hennessy, it's about the position and the procedure. So that's why we're talking about it in open session.
And that's why I say that if that's what the discussion has to be about, interim, then leave Chris Hennessy out of it and talk about the interim position.
Right.
I think that's certainly I wasn't aware that there was a leave of absence involved, that there was any extended plan for anyone. It was my understanding that there would be a reapplication process mid-year, in the coming year. And I think it's unfair not only to us as board members, but to everybody else who's listening, that there should be so many question marks attached to this. And that's why I'm saying that we just put it aside for the moment, get everybody fully informed, and then have the discussion.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Alice. Josh Howard, do you have a question?
I just have a response to Guy's statement there about, I get it. You've been hiring a lot of administrators over the years. And that's kind of the problem. It seems you're really still top heavy. And I'm just kind of surprised as the first time you've heard it. So I know I've said it several times before. But yeah, top heavy administrators. As far as a co-principal position in Berry City, I still don't think it's needed. I know you guys, I know those David Wells and the board has said before as a state guideline, but I don't know if you read the story in a newspaper. It turns out that's malarkey. That doesn't have a guideline for that. Just says if you have at least 10 teachers that have a principal, not a principal for every 10 teachers. So I'd like to make you guys maybe apologize for that statement and clarify a little bit if you could.
So we're actually not going to go down this road, Josh, because we have you have stated your opinion many times, and I would like to clarify that it is your opinion, and so it's not our standard practice. And so we have 3 administrators at all of our schools, and I would predict that we're going to continue to have 3 administrators at every school. So with that being said, I will take Alice's recommendation that we discuss this further at another date. And Carol, I see that your hand is up, and I'm not sure if you want to clarify anything or if maybe we should table your part of the conversation for another day. Are you okay with that, or do you want to chime in?
Well, both of those, please. And I just want to make it clear, I didn't want to have anyone misunderstand me. The superintendent was hired as an interim because it is late in the year, but the the principal, it is the 1-year position, and it is interim. So I would like a chance to talk about that with an executive session, but I would also ask that that be sooner rather than later.
Well, so here's the thing. If you're talking about just the position and not the person, we have to talk about it in open session. And I would recommend that we put it on the agenda to talk about on our June 24th meeting. I think that's the next meeting. To talk about how interim positions are handled and how, if we hire from within, what's the process, and is there a leave of absence, and how that's all managed, because that's apparently, we are not aware of that. And of course, I'm not aware of it, but I can be perfectly honest in saying I have yet to know or have an interim position of any kind, with the exception of teachers who are hired partway through the year, and they are considered interim and they can reapply for the position, that they're applying for, just as our incoming superintendent can apply for the position that he's filling. But because we haven't had this scenario, I think maybe we should talk about the process, and we can put that on our agenda for next time.
Okay, that would be good.
And if that requires a motion, Sonia, I would make that motion.
Well, I don't think we need a motion to put something on the agenda. It's okay. But thank you, Alice. And thank you for bringing it up, because I think it's a good point to just have a further discussion about the procedure for future agenda.
You have a motion on the floor right now.
We do?
You do. Or don't we? Oh, no. Did we? We did vote on Rebecca Mortensen?
No, we did.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I was like, wait a minute.
I'm getting, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, moving on. Thank you, Andrea. We will we'll add the process to we'll address the process of interim positions at our next board meeting. Okay. And now we're going to move on to 5.2, resign and retire. And David, you said you have a late addition to the resign and retire, and we don't have any others in our packet. Is that correct?
That is correct. And Stephanie Sang, who is the school counseling coordinator at the Career Center, has resigned to take another position.
Yes. Okay, so I would look for a motion. Oh, no, we don't need to approve it. So that's just a notification of that.
That's right.
Okay, well, thank you for that notification, and we wish her the best. And thank her for her time.
Will the letter be going out for an addendum to the packet? The protocol is the board is supposed to get copies of all resignations.
Right. We could add that to the next meeting just so that the board has that. Would that work?
Yeah.
I think it would, yeah.
That would be fine. Okay, and there's no other resign or retire, so we'll move on to 5.3, which is RFP approvals, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 in our packet. Is that correct?
I believe so. And I can
Okay.
go through those if you'd like.
That would be great.
Okay. So some are in the original packet and then some are in the addendum. So I will talk about the ones that are in the original packet first. It's recommending the Robert H. Lord Company for the bleacher replacement at Berrytown Middle School. This is a summer project. They're all summer projects.
So David, I'm gonna stop you for just 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the pleasure of the board to do these all at once, or should we do them separately?
Do them as a packet.
Do a packet? Okay, thanks, Alice. Is everyone else okay with that? Yep, okay. Go ahead, Alice.
I'd just like to make a comment on the bleacher replacement, that I'm very happy to see that happen, because when the Berrytown board was first informed by their insurance company that the state of the bleachers there would, in coming years, this is like 4 years ago, that in coming years they would impact our ability to be either insured or have some problems. And I'm very glad to see this happening, because it was a necessary activity to be done, and I think it will really not only add to the school building, but it's good for the district.
Thanks, Alice. Okay, David, so go ahead. We're going to do these all at once. If you'd like to present, you did the Berrytown bleacher replacement.
That's right. And for the public who may not have the agenda in front of them, that is for the price of $55,693.
Okay.
And these are in our regular budget for planned expenditures. Next, I have the Spalding High School auditorium AV system upgrade, and I know that we've talked about that at a number of board meetings. And there were 4 people that we reached out to for proposals, and 3 of them declined. I am recommending that we go with the Audio Video Corporation for $74,599. That's a large project, updating the audio visuals. Next, for the board or people who have the packets, I'm going over to the addendum, and I have a snowplow contract for renewal. This is with Thomas Property Management, and it is for $89,100. And in addition, there is a charge of $8,800 for snow plowing at the C building. There's just a note that a board or supervisory union can continue to go with a vendor under certain conditions. The next one that I have is a copier contract. This is going with Office Systems, and this actually is going to be a reduction. The previous contract was for $84,740, but the new contract is for $75,513.
Awesome, thank you. So I will look for a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation for these RFPs as presented.
I'll make that motion, Sonia. This is Guy.
Alice, is that a second?
I'll second. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, are there any questions or comments? I know Alice made a comment about bleachers.
Yep, I have a question.
Go ahead, Alice.
Do these RFPs have lock-in prices, noting that the fact that construction costs in the last 6 months have risen? Do they have lock-in statements in the contracts?
Right. I would have to research that. I would hope that they do, but I don't want to say that in error. And I don't see our business manager on the call, but I can.
Lisa is here. Lisa's
she
here.
is.
She has her, and she's waving at us. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, well, we haven't entered into a contract because we were waiting for the board to approve them. So we certainly will make sure that we have language that if there are any change orders, that it goes through the facility director or myself or myself.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sarah, question, comment?
Well, both. I wanted to double check because I think I had heard the board has already once approved the bleachers and the audiovisual systems, correct?
I think we've approved the audio visual, but not the bleachers.
Correct.
That is correct. Bleachers were put on hold.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that your, okay.
Yep, that's it.
Any other questions? Josh Howard, do you have a question?
I have a question about the audio visuals. Is it, David, you said that you sent out 4 bid offers and you only had 1 come back. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is it possible to get more bids on it? My only concern, because being a contractor myself, if I know there's no bids coming back, I'm jacking that price up because I know I'm going to get it. And I don't know what the rules are as far as how the school board's allowed to take bids in. I thought they had to have 3 actual bids, not this 3 bid invites.
I think, go ahead, David.
Right. So one is that, it is an open bidding process. And there are a few companies who do this type of work. And Lisa, I'm going to call on you again if you have any particular extra information about the bid for the audiovisual system.
So this was an open bid and the other vendors weren't aware, of what this bid was. So we have, we're a small rural state, and we are limited to the vendors that we have. So, we have done our due diligence to reach out to 4 different vendors. And we've had several conversations. Our tech director is involved. Our facility director has been involved. And we believe this is a very reasonable bid. And in fact, they provided us a bid a year ago and held to that bid. I think there was a slight increase of maybe a couple $1,000s, and that was it, which really surprised us. So, we've already brought this to the board and it's been approved.
So, just so to be clear, this same company, the Audio Video Corporation, we approved them previously, and then the project was put on hold because of COVID, I'm assuming?
Yes.
And so we went back out to bid again because we had to put the project on hold, or did we just ask them to?
We did not go back out to bid. I was just bringing this to you for your information to know the project, just to inform you the project was happening this summer.
Okay, so it's moving forward because the board has already approved it technically.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Are there any other questions about the RFPs as presented? Josh, you have another question?
Yeah, I'd just like to ask if all the bids for that auditorium project was invited from Vermont businesses, or did you reach out abroad like New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and New York? And, so just kind of broaden horizon because it is a big contract and typically people will travel for that.
Lisa can answer that.
Yeah, it was a year ago, so I don't have the information in front of me, but we certainly have record of everybody that we reached out to.
I'm guessing, Josh, Emmanuel has raised his hand. Emmanuel, go ahead.
Yes, we reached out to New Hampshire. We reached out to New Hampshire and New York.
Okay. So we did go outside. I'm guessing if you Google these 4 companies, they probably are not for all Vermont based is my guess. So that would be a way to figure that out. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I will move on and ask for all those in favor of approving these RFPs, please indicate with a thumbs up. Guy? Guy? Awesome. Sarah? Tim? Gina? Chris? Abby? Renee? Alice? Okay. These are approved, and we will move on. Thank you, everybody, for that. 5.4 is being tabled to later in June, and so we'll move on to 5.5, annual recommendation of truant officers. You have in your packet the Title 16 Education, Chapter 25, Attendance and Discipline statute for truant officers, and we have to appoint one or more truant officers and record their appointments on or before July 3rd. So, David, who do we usually do, and who would you recommend that we appoint?
Okay, so I have 3 people to recommend. I have Jim Furland, who fills this role at Spalding High School. Ted Mills, as the new assistant principal at Barry Town, will have this role. And Pierre Laflamme at Barry City School has this role and will continue.
I'm going to ask just a procedural question. Yeah, Andrea's got her hand raised because I'm hoping she can answer this for me. Do we normally do people or do we do positions?
No, you actually have to name people. And last year it was Pierre Laflamme. Erica Pearson was last year for Barry Town. So it would make sense because it used to be the assistant principal who did it. And at Spalding High School, it has always been both assistant principals, Jim Furlan and Luke Ather. Okay. And you also need one for the Career Center, which has traditionally been Scott Griggs.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, David, would you also recommend that we add Luke Ather to Spalding and then additionally add Scott Griggs for CBCC?
No, I wouldn't actually. Okay. In checking with Brenda Waterhouse, she said that she would like to have Jim Furlan take on this role and not have Luke take on this role. Okay. And Penny Chamberlain let me know that sending schools handle their own truancy. Oh. So, right, if a kid from Harwood isn't showing up, then Harwood goes and checks in with the kid.
Okay, so we don't need a CVCC.
That is what Penny let me know.
Okay. All right, so I would look for a motion to approve Jim Furland, Ted Mills, and Pierre Laflamme as the truant officers to be appointed by the district. Alice? So moved. Okay, and a second? Tim, with a second? Okay, any questions, comments, discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify with a thumbs up. Guy, Sarah, Tim, Sheena, Chris, Abby, Renee, Alice. Alice has gone to a picture. Alice is back. Thumbs up. Okay, the motion passes. We have our truant officers appointed. Next is 5.6, the annual recommendation of the harassment, hazing, and bullying report recipients. You have in your packet the statute. We do not have to go through the whole statute. It's just that's in there, I'm assuming, for your reference under Appendix A for the designated employees. Are these the recommended designated employees, David?
Okay, so the recommended employees will be Pierre Laflamme at Barry City.
Yep.
Ted Mills at Barry Town. And then I'm going to have to get a confirmation from Brenda here that it would be Luke Ather at Spalding.
That is correct.
We do have CVCC on here. And we also have the BUUSD office. So I think we should continue to have the superintendent. Chris is listed there. And so I think I would recommend that we keep the superintendent as a report recipient. And then should we add, but they had multiple people before. Do we only have one person for each school?
Right. This would be the main person for each school.
We have always listed multiples for each school. And when I heard of Stephanie Sang's resignation, that put my antennas up, because she currently, for the current academic year, she and Scott Griggs are the two.
I'm guessing that's probably by design, because if, let's say, the person listed is the one that's doing the hazing, harassment, and bullying, it wouldn't be appropriate necessarily to have them be the one receiving the report. So you probably need multiple people, is my guess. Do we, I don't know, is there a date on here that we have to do this by a certain date?
Well, I would recommend that this can be confirmed and brought to the board at its next meeting, which would be before July 1st.
Okay, so let's just table this 5.6 to June 24th, and we'll just confirm who the other people will be for those other schools. Chris Parker, you had your hand raised. Are you okay? Do you have a question, or are you okay with us just tabling that?
Yeah, that's fine. My question was about also the person who had resigned, who was on the list.
Okay, so this will come back around, if that's okay.
And just a heads up, Berry Town has had 2 for the middle school, but Alice Harding does the younger children. She's who the elementary school reports to. So,
Okay.
And once you decide what you're doing, the name changes can be added to the policy. It's not a substantive change, so you will not have to reapprove the policy, but the policy will just need to be changed and then put out onto the website.
Okay, awesome. Great. All right, so we'll bring that back around on June 24th. Next is the first 5.7, first reading of sexually transmitted infections, STI, and pregnancy prevention education policy C43. And Chris Parker, I'm going to ask you to present this. I'm assuming we already have this in our policy already, and this is just a small change. It looked like, I think I read the minutes, and that's why I think that. Go ahead if you'd like.
Yeah, so this is just a small change because the law is changing in Vermont that as of July 1st, middle school students need to have access to that contraception. So if you see in your packet, the underline is the only change to the VSBA recommended policy. So it's just the current policy reads BUUSD students, and we're adding middle level students. That's the only change in the recommended policy.
Okay, so I would look for a motion to approve the first reading for this policy. Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved, Sonia. This is Guy.
Thanks, Guy. In a second?
Second, Abby.
Thanks, Abby. Okay, are there any questions?
Yeah, one other thing I should just say, just reading it again as we're talking, is just also that middle level students can, the parents can withhold permission, but if permission is not withheld, then those kids can access contraception.
Okay.
I believe the law change was for high school students, parents could not deny permission. That's
Correct.
why it was added that middle level students permission can be denied, but it cannot be denied for high school.
Yes, thank you, Andrea.
So my question is what, and this may just be like I guess a really technical question, but why is it middle level instead of middle school level?
I don't know. We could say middle school level if that is more in line.
We just usually refer to middle school as middle school, so it is just odd to me that we would just call it middle level, but does that make sense to everybody else that just middle level means middle school? Is that just an assumption?
It does.
Okay. So is everyone okay with the wording just as it is? Yeah. Okay. If we're all good, I'm good. So we have a motion on the table. All those in favor of approving the first reading, please signify with a thumbs up. Aye. Sarah, Tim, I'm sorry, was that a thumbs up? Yep, awesome, thank you. Gina, Chris, Abby, Renee, and Alice. Awesome. Okay, so there's the first reading approved, and we'll move on to the 5.8 first reading of the district equity policy. And before we get into this, I would ask that we maybe should we have a because I'm afraid that if you present it and we don't have a motion on the table, Chris, we're going to lose sight of that. So could I get a motion to approve the first reading of the district equity policy C29?
So moved.
Sarah? And a second?
Can I second it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'll second it.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, so now are there any questions or comments? Or Chris, would you like to tell us more about this?
I can just say also this is a recommended policy from the VSBA, and on the second page of the policy, you'll see that the only change is changing from the superintendent monitoring the policy and providing a status report to the board, change from monthly to quarterly. That's the only change.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Comments? So I don't have a question or a comment. I just have a concern. I think this is an amazing policy, and I look forward to us having a first and second reading and have it be ratified. My question or concern is how do we implement it, and how do we prioritize, and how is it managed? Because the implementation on the back with all of those bullets is just an enormous job. And so how do we do that? And we don't necessarily have to get into a discussion, but that's a concern that I have, because even just taking the, you know, if you wanted to say the second bullet, provide every student with equitable access to high quality and culturally relevant instruction, curriculum, support, facilities, technology, and other educational resources that respect their individual identities, cultures, backgrounds, abilities, and experiences, that could take you, you know, the next 25 years. How do we, you know, how do we prioritize these things, and how do we make sure that we're, you know, do an inventory, get a baseline? How do we manage it, I guess, is my concern. Alice, you have a comment?
I just have a technical, where those bullets are, and this is just my personal belief, is where those bullets are, there should either be numbers or letters. Because just as you're finding out the second bullet, put the number there.
Yes, thank you, Alice.
It just makes it easier to read.
Thank you. Yes, point well taken. So I guess what I would say is I'm fine to pass this. I think it's a great policy. I would ask that I know the superintendent's going to identify outcome indicators as necessary to monitor this policy and provide a quarterly status report to the board. But I would like to see a baseline. Where are we now? So that then when we get our first quarterly report, we'll know how much progress we've made, or at least have some idea of what those outcome indicators are going to be. So, and you know, I don't expect those that, you know, that they will be, you know, written down in a list or a binder or whatever by tomorrow. But I think that this is a really big job, and I'm concerned about how do we do it well. So, Alice, do you have another question, or is that a holdover hand up? Okay. Howard, do you have a question?
Yes, with this policy, is that referencing that you guys were not teaching kids equally before? That you weren't treating kids giving kids what they needed, or did the policy needed to happen because you weren't doing it?
No. This is a new recommended policy by the VSBA, and just because we implement a policy doesn't mean we're not doing things. And I would caution you consider the word equal and equitable are not necessarily the same. So I think the important thing to distinguish is that this is an equity policy, and it very clearly states that, and now I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find it, but it, on the front page, it says equity goes beyond formal equality, where all students are treated the same. Achieving equity may require an unequal distribution of resources and services. And so we want to make sure that we're not necessarily treating everybody equally, we're treating everybody equitably. So that's what this policy is making sure that we are going to do as a district. So
Were you not doing that before?
well, I think we have to, I think there's always room for improvement. I think we I think everyone strives to be as equitable as possible. But I think making sure that we are paying attention to all of the things that are spelled out on the backside of this policy will make sure that we are being more equitable to all of our students, whether it's race, ethnicity, language, ability, gender, socioeconomic background, and making sure that all of the systems and curriculum and all of the things that we are using and have, that we are using them in an equitable way for all of our students. Alice has her hand up. Go ahead, Alice.
I don't think in any way it's an admission of guilt that we haven't been doing this. What this does is it codifies going forward what we want to guarantee is happening in the district. So that's the purpose of adding policy to any kind of a business or school district or municipal government. So you want to make sure that everyone knows that this is what we stand for, and that's our policy. Even though we very well may have been and have been doing it well in the past.
Thank you. Very well said. Chris Parker?
Yeah, I was just going to say that perhaps once we've gotten both readings on this and then it's adopted, that perhaps the first report that Chris might make to the board once he's had a chance to meet with the administrators in the buildings would be what information do they think, what indicators do they have that we're doing a bunch of this already? So tell us a little bit about what's in place in the curriculum at the different grade levels, and then how will we use that information to look at the outcome indicators and to use data to make sure that we're continuing to advance those things. And that might also show where, if there are any holes and what we need to plug up going forward as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Chris Hennessy?
Thank you, Sonia. Alice and Chris, your answers were just outstanding and virtually what I was going to say. I think all I would add is that, kind of jumping onto what Chris just said, it's going to give us an opportunity to openly speak to what these issues are and then be able to communicate it better. I think that when we're putting policies in place like this, it back to Alice's point, in no way implies that we haven't been doing it. But I think any organization can look at itself in the mirror and improve in these areas. And this is just going to keep that conversation going and then provide an opportunity for me, along with the school administrators, to report out to you all about how we're doing. So it's just a welcome development. And I think I think it's great. So I just want to put that out there.
Thanks, Chris. All right. Seeing no other hands up, we'll look for all of those in favor of approving the first reading of the district equity policy to please signify with thumbs up. Guy, Sarah, Tim, Gina, Chris, Abby, Renee, Alice. All right, so the first reading is approved, and we will move on to 5.10, which is, we're skipping the 5.9 that has been deleted. 5.10 is regarding open meeting law, and in your packet there's a letter or a email I received from Sue Siglowski from the Vermont School Boards Association regarding Vermont's open meeting law. And in addition, there's a part in your addendum that David has included. And I just wanted to have a discussion with you so that we all understand. Oh, and we also have the policy about our agenda, our board meetings. I wanted to have a discussion with you all because from that email, the temporary changes to Vermont's open meeting law, which are in effect during the declared state of emergency due to COVID-19, are probably going to be lifted soon. And so that means that we need to comply with open meeting law by including a physical location where the public can attend, and at least one member of the board or at least one staff or designee of the board must be physically present at the meeting location. I wanted to have just a conversation about meeting in person again, and also how to include a virtual component to allow participation from the public at those meetings if we are physically meeting in person. So I would just ask David, if you want to talk a little bit about, I presented what we're going to talk about, but if you want to talk about your email or letter that you sent, that would be great.
Sure, I can speak to that. So from previous conversations with the board, it's pretty clear that it's a positive thing to have the virtual video component that allows the public to attend more easily, and the board had indicated that they wanted to continue that. And then just simply that I met with Emmanuel and Josh looking at that, and they're researching solutions so that you could have a device, maybe a Google Meeting device, or something attached to a Promethean board that would allow you to easily in each location. Would be recommended to do it in a school library so that the board, someone having a board meeting or committee meeting, could turn on the device and people could participate remotely. It would still record the meeting as we're doing now, but then there would also be the in-person component. So just to let you know that we're working on that. The one thing that would change is I understand that committees, when they met in person, might informally meet, let's say at the downstairs table in the central office. It would probably be preferable to have those in a school library where we would put one of those devices so that those could be virtual as well, or hybrid.
Okay, great. Any questions, any discussion? What are your thoughts? You have thoughts? You guys are just like really excited to get back and meet in person? Gina has a thought. Go ahead, Gina.
I mean, and maybe we don't know this right now, but I'm wondering what if there's going to be an option for board members to continue meeting remotely, or if once the state of emergency expires, if the expectation is going to be that board members meet in person, and then the remote access is really just for the public. And we probably don't have an answer to that right now. We don't even know what remote access looks like, but
well, that's a good question, and that's exactly why I want to have the discussion. Because I don't, I'm not sitting in Vermont right now, and I'm lucky that I can still run the meeting. So I'm very pleased that I can still do that and participate. And I think when everyone can participate, whether they're physically able to be present or not, is important, whether it's a member of the community or a member of the board or a member of the administration. So but how do we make it work? It sounds like to comply with the open meeting law, we need to have a physical location where the public can attend, and at least one member of the board or at least one staff or designee of the board must be physically present. Doesn't mean that we have to meet in person. I think that having us meet in person would probably be, if most of us can meet in person, that would be helpful. But those are my thoughts and my opinions, and that doesn't mean that that's what we'll do. I think we have to decide as a board as we try to move forward. Guy?
Yeah, so that was my follow-up question as well. My observation has been that there's been more public participation. I think we've all agreed to that. And there's been less board absenteeism because of the ability to be able to meet remotely. So, Sonia is leading the meeting on the West Coast tonight. In prior days, that may not have been possible. You know, she may have been absent and the vice chair would have to run the meeting. So there are certainly a lot of advantages, and I would hope that we would try to access all those advantages. Because even tonight we have, I don't know how many people online, but it's more than we usually have. So it's all good.
Yeah, I would agree. So there's 32 of us right now, and there's 9 members of the board, and there are, you know, members of the public, and there's members of the administration, and there's teachers, and yeah, there's our, you know, business director and HR director. There are a lot of people here, and for us to all be able to do this virtually, I think we have to consider how can we continue to, you know, make this work for everybody. Josh, Howard?
Yeah, I'd recommend that the board actually goes to the meetings in person, but let the public actually still participate virtually. Because obviously the public has been a little bit more involved, but as board members, it's your job to be there in person.
Okay, so there's another opinion. I'm not sure if you would like to have this, continue to have this discussion. It may happen by our next meeting that we need to have an in-person auction. And I think just like when we started COVID, we kind of figured things out as we went, and we're probably going to have to do it as we're coming out on the other side, because I'm not sure we know exactly how it's going to go. When we're going to have the tools in place and the equipment in place to be able to do that, to be able to meet in person and have a hybrid option, and what that's all going to look like. I'm sure there's going to be some bumps along the way. And so we can certainly discuss it further at our next meeting. But if the next meeting requires that someone has to be in person, does, you know, we have to figure out what that means. And does that mean all of us need to be in person? What are your thoughts? Chris Parker.
Yeah, I just want to sort of represent the perspective also that meetings have been lasting upwards of 5 hours on a very regular basis. And so while it is board members' jobs to participate and to be present as much as possible in meetings, you know, having them remotely has allowed me to, for instance, still have my children and be present for them for what they need. And so I would wonder if meetings were required in person, whether meetings could continue to go on for that many hours and expect that people could participate for 5 hours on a weeknight when there are other jobs and parenting and things like that. You know, I wouldn't say I haven't minded. It's been a lot of work, but, you know, I've been able to participate until 10:30, 11 at night. But if that was outside of my household, that amount of time would be a much different hardship, especially when it's multiple nights a week for committees and the board meeting. So that's my perspective that I wanted to make known as well.
Yep. Thank you. Alice?
We were dumped into this quite suddenly. We got into the deep end of the pool when COVID first struck. And I think this provides us an opportunity to swim to the shallow end and walk out the stairs so that we can organize things a little bit better and think about it. So we really don't need to rush into anything quite yet. We've got a new school year coming upon us. We'll probably get more guidelines from the state. And as those guidelines come down, we can plan to be successful and meet everybody's needs.
Alice, I love your analogy. Thank you for that. So it sounds like for our next board meeting, we will continue to do this platform as a Zoom meeting, and we will continue to have the majority of board members will Zoom in or Google Meet in or whatever you want to call it. And we will, as we keep moving forward, figure out how we want to do some sort of hybrid move to all in person, and how we can do that in the fashion that Alice just illustrated so well with her metaphor. So I would say we will figure out what the physical location is. It's supposed to be, we're supposed to rotate based on our policy. So it looks like the June meeting is supposed to be at the Berry City Elementary and Middle School Library. We will have to designate a physical location where the public can attend, and at least one member of the board or at least one staff or designee of the board can be physically present. So we will figure that out in time for our June 24th meeting, and we will assume that we're going to keep doing this for the next meeting at least, as we figure out how we're going to move forward. Okay?
I'm on the phone. Can I raise my hand?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Sue.
I was just going to say, I don't know why anybody's got to be in person. I mean, I think allowing any board member who needs to be home and multitasking and being at a meeting and doing with their kids, and you being out of state, or I just think that a combination of the two, I think, is wonderful. And I think that's why you are getting so many people, because you're allowing everyone to come in by phone or by Zoom. And then when you go in person, I just think the combination of all of it is great.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, so we will move forward. We will maintain this platform for our next meeting at least, and keep working on how we're going to change that and create some kind of a hybrid model as we move along into the summer. Okay? All right. Oops, next up is the old business 6.1, second and final reading of student clubs and activities. I will look for a motion to approve this policy C23 for adoption.
And I'll just say, as you can see in your packets, the only change is just the changing of the double negative. So just to switch that one sentence to make it read correctly.
Thanks, Chris. Alice, did you want to make that motion? Awesome. Thank you.
I'll second.
Chris, second. Are there any questions, comments? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify with a thumbs up. Guy, Sarah, Tim, we lost him. May come back. We'll keep my eye. Gina, we lost Tim. Awesome, thanks, Tim. Gina, she may have stepped away. Chris, Abby, Renee, Alice. Okay, so the policy C23 student clubs and activities is, the motion passes, and that passes the second reading, and so that policy is adopted. Thank you, everybody. Next is 6.2 financials. We have tabled that for our next meeting. And so we're going to move on to 6.3 vision, mission, and strategic goals. And I will give you a very brief update on this because we haven't met since the last time I gave you an update. Our final meeting is June 16th, when we will review the feedback from our stakeholders regarding our draft of the mission, vision, and strategic goals and our belief statements. So we will be, I expect, discussing that and adding that to our June 24th meeting as well, to approve a final draft of that, or at least discuss it and then maybe put that, if we're not ready to, we need to do some revisions or not comfortable, we can put that on the first meeting in July. Okay, so there's the update on that. And now we'll move to reports. And we have combined all of the building reports into one agenda item 7.1. And so rather than go through every single one, I would just ask any administrators. I can do it now, I can do it later during roundtable, but if there's anything that you would like to update us on, either from your report or something you didn't include, please let me know, and I'd be happy to give you a moment to update us. Brenda, go ahead.
Okay, I do have several announcements as it's a busy time of year. The first announcement is that our baseball team has made it to the D2 state championship, and that will be on Sunday at 11 o'clock. So I wanted to just update the folks, and I can give information if folks are interested in reaching out. But they've had an amazing season, and it was just wonderful to have a season at all, but to know how much the fans and the students have appreciated having such a terrific season has been very heartwarming. Another athletic event related, girls softball played Middlebury last week, and our students, which I did speak in my board report about Pride Month and awareness, and that folks are sporting some washable tattoos. And our entire softball team was sporting their tattoos in support of Pride Month. And the Middlebury team was so moved that they actually asked about that and asked for tattoos, which were sent to them, and then they proceeded to take pictures of their support as well. And we were very excited about that level of enthusiasm from another team that we were playing. This evening, I was not able to attend the National Honor Society because I am sitting in this meeting, but the National Honor Society had their induction ceremony this evening. And at this point, we have 71 juniors and seniors as members. And to just remind folks, there are 4 pillars of NHS membership, and they are scholarship, service, leadership, and character. And we are very excited to have that large a membership sporting those pillars with pride. And last but not least, Alice had asked, I believe at the last board meeting, about any upcoming field trips. And so we are in the tentative planning process. So this has not yet been approved because we are looking at parent-student interest. And it would be for next year. And it would be our music department doing their Disney trip. And so it has been done a few years ago, and it was intended to be done this past year, but because of COVID, it did not happen. So they are putting the information out to students and parents, and we do need 20 students to agree to participate in it in order for us to move forward with the planning purposes. But it is a musical educational performance experience, and the students will participate in performing arts and stage workshops, and is located in Disney in Florida. And students miss one student day, but it's happening mostly during the February break of next year.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for all that information, Brenda. Next up, Hayden.
Thanks. Yeah. This was in the addendum in our board report, but I wanted to highlight the our special education preschool team was recognized by the Vermont Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired over the last couple of weeks with an outstanding team award for their support of a preschool student. So a team of 7 educators, including special educators, classroom teachers, paraeducator, and then occupational, speech, and physical therapists are involved with this child, and they were all recognized for their work as the outstanding team for the state of Vermont this year, and that was pretty awesome. And I think it speaks to our work. We talked a little bit about equity before, and I think this is a really good example of the great work we do around equity every day.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
Anything else?
Yeah, if I can share one more thing, we had we recognized our kindergartners as they finish out the year today, and I wanted to just share for folks, we recorded the whole ceremony, and we're working and doing some editing to the videos, and we'll be posting them on websites and emailing and everything soon. So congrats to our new first graders.
Awesome. Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to chime in on the reports to the board from the buildings? Okay.
Yes, Sonia, this is Erica. If I could just say a quick thank you to our staff and our community members for being patient with us for a very successful tent parent pickup on voting day. It was a little out of the ordinary, but our community members' flexibility, our staff's gung-ho-ness to jump in and just change things up and get things done was amazing. So I just wanted to extend that thank you and a thanks to our community for coming out and voting while our students were in school.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. All right. Next, we'll move on to committee reports. And the first committee up is communications. So Alice, would you like to give us an update?
Yes. I would like to communicate to you the results of the communications meeting. We basically spent a tremendous amount of time talking about how to promote the third budget vote. And that involved a whole lot of people and a whole lot of ideas, and everyone really pitched in to get their jobs done, and it really worked out very well. We continue to talk about promoting the mission, vision, and strategic planning so that not only we as a board, but the staff and everyone within the school buildings, then the parents and even the students recognize what it is that we're trying to do and how we intend to accomplish it. So that's a communications issue to keep that information on a front burner. And then we talked about, again, additional activities coming up as we tick off that we've ticked off budget, but it really doesn't end. It just begins. So we keep that communication going. We have summer activities. We have possible brainstorming of other activities that might impact the district and how the communications committee and the board can work to keep that information out in the public. So I'd really like to thank Josh Allen, because he really has been a bulwark in this activity and has really helped us out a lot, not only by his own work, but by guiding the members of the communications committee as to what they need to do. And another thank you is because of the communication committee. We are the communications committee and we do like to talk. And so we have our Jiminy Cricket who keeps us in line, and that is Andrea. And we really appreciate that work because we can get off track and we don't want to. So thank you, a big thank you to Andrea for being our advisor and our watching bird. And that was our meeting.
Thanks, Alice. Next, Finance Committee, Sarah. Not sure.
Yeah, so the last time the Finance Committee met was on May 18th. So our update's a little bit stale because we already, what we did was we discussed proposed budget cuts for draft 5, which you guys already know because we brought it to the board, and that's what we proposed for the next vote, which thankfully passed yesterday. We did a little bit of discussion about ESSER funding update, talked about RFPs, which we discussed at the meeting tonight, and then year-end projections, which I know have changed a little bit since that meeting, and we will be discussing again on Tuesday. Other than that, we haven't met since then. We'll meet again this coming Tuesday at 5:30, and then I'll have more.
Awesome. Thank you. Next, Facilities Transportation Committee, Guy.
Yeah, we met on May 24th and discussed a lot of the updated projects. I think we've reviewed those. Our next meeting is June 14th. Appreciate everyone's involvement.
Thanks, Guy. Policy, Chris?
Yeah, so similar to what someone said in the beginning, I'm not sure. We met May 17th, that was the last time. Guy, can you mute? We're getting feedback from your mic. Thank you. So the board has met a couple of times since that last policy meeting. You all are seeing the policies that are coming forward to the board for first and second readings. That's what's been on our agenda recently. We also have begun working on the anti-racism policy. That's not quite ready to come to the board yet, but that will be coming soon. And then at our last meeting, a student came under student voice and talked about his interest in having the school district raise the Black Lives Matter flag. A very passionate young man who's been, or young student who's been learning a lot through webinars about Black Lives Matter. And so he is going to be invited to, because it wasn't directly related to policy, he is going to be invited to a future board meeting to come and speak under student voice so that we can hear from him and any other students who might like to speak on that and to decide how to move forward with that or handle that with in Barry. So that was really exciting, actually. His teacher reached out to me, and then I emailed his parents, and it was a really exciting thing to have him be so interested and passionate and come to the meeting to talk about his interest. So stay tuned. More on that in a coming board meeting.
Thanks, Chris. Next, curriculum. Renee?
Yeah, so we ended up canceling the curriculum committee meeting because of all the other ones that were going on with the budget. So we don't have any updates at this point. And also just, Sonia, so you know, my laptop is down to 11% battery. So when we go into executive session, I'm probably going to be on my desktop and on my phone.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. If you just like go off the screen, we'll know something happened or you ran out. Next up is negotiations. And Gina, are you there, Gina? She's there. You're muted. Or maybe we can't hear you. No, you're not muted. You're having weird things with your microphone lately. Can't hear you at all. Nope, nothing. Okay. Do you think you could copy and paste the statement? I actually sent it out to the whole board, but no. Okay, I'm gonna let Guy go next, and I'm gonna see if I can find the statement that I emailed out to the whole board because that's basically maybe your negotiations update. Okay. Guy, do you want to talk about governance while I find that email?
Yeah, sure. I was able to join the meeting late because we had another meeting, but you know, we listened to the governance structure of the, I believe, the 3 independent standing career center boards in Vermont. So, you know, that was interesting to hear. And so they're talking about proposals of what, you know, the potential governance board would look like. Our next meeting is going to be June 15th.
Great, thank you. Okay, so the negotiations update I sent to the board, but I will read you the statement so that everybody else will have an update. This email was sent out to the board on Monday, June 7th. The board and association negotiating teams met for their 3rd negotiating session. Final proposals were exchanged and discussed between the parties for both the teacher and paraeducator agreements. The next meeting is scheduled for June 21st, 2021 at 5:30. So that's your negotiations update. We will have another statement, I'm assuming, at our next meeting since we're meeting again with the association before our next board meeting. Andrea?
Can you forward that along to me, Sonia, please?
I would be happy to. I'm going to do it right now.
Thanks.
I should just copy you on the email when I send it out, so I apologize.
Lessons learned. We'll do it going forward.
There you go. I just sent it. Okay.
Thank you.
So there we are done with reports. And next we'll go to other business roundtable. And I'm going to just go down the list. Guy, you're first. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So I've got a list of thank yous that I want to do tonight. First of all, I want to thank the Finance Committee and Lisa and her folks for working on the budget piece. It was a struggle, but we endured, and thank you all. And I probably should have put this first because, as someone who's managed organizations in the past, I've always said, the first person you listen to when you call into an organization is probably the most important person. And I learned through the newsletter that Linda Papineau is probably going to be leaving, or is going to be leaving. So I just want to thank Linda for her passionate involvement, for her, when you call her, she is so happy and she makes you feel so special. So I want to thank her. I also want to thank the Spalding High School sports teams. They've had a successful year. And Dave Delcor and Time Zagas for reporting all of our school stuff. You guys don't get enough credit, but thank you. And certainly wish the baseball team a lot of luck. They arranged the schedule so that I think the pitcher from U32, who was very, very, very good and is a leading contender for a draft pick in the major leagues, we have our work cut out for us, but I'm very hopeful. Thank again, Brenda, for doing a great job with the award stuff. I mean, I am always amazed how much time and effort people put into that. I really appreciate that. And David, thank you and good luck.
Thanks, Guy. Sarah, you're next.
I'm not quite sure how I'm supposed to follow that. But I'd just like to thank everybody who came out and voted yesterday. I was very encouraged that we won over the voters in both the city and the town. I was at both Berrytown School and the BOR when the results were read. I got to talk to a lot of the poll workers, so I'd like to thank them. I know that they had a very long day as well. Just very relieved and happy that we can move on and look forward to a great year.
Thanks, Sarah. Tim?
Yes, I just would like to make the statement that since the budget has been passed, and that's exciting, that before any pay raises are given this year, any at all, that we restore the salaries to the assistant and part-time coaches.
Okay, well, I guess we could discuss that further maybe in finance, Sarah. If that's a suggestion that, and maybe Tim could come to finance to discuss maybe further what that means. So I'll leave it at that and we'll let finance have that discussion. Gina? Gina may have stepped away. I'm going to go to Chris next and we'll come back to Gina. Oh, Gina's microphone's not working. She may not be able to chime in. No, sorry. Thanks, Gina. Sorry.
Thanks, Sonia. Yeah, I just want to say thank you to the community who helped us get the budget passed. It was a huge relief, very excited news the other night. And thanks to my fellow board members and community members who showed up on Tuesday night for the honk and wave. That was a funny, fun experience. And also I met a few board members in person for the very first time, which was odd. Just an odd year that we're in. Thank you to all the teachers and the administrators that while the year is wrapping up, I know as a parent getting the communications from Berrytown about all the end of the year stuff, the more you're planning, the more things are changing and weather and outside graduations and everything. So I know how much work you're putting in and I appreciate all of it and all of the considerations to make these end of year things as special as possible. And I know it's happening in all the schools. So thank you so much for your efforts for the kids and families. It's really appreciated.
Thanks, Chris. Next, Abby.
I also wanted to echo a lot of the thank yous from everybody, but really thank you for everybody who went out and voted and supported the budget.
Thanks. Renee.
Chris and Abby usually say pretty much everything I'm thinking. So just thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, administrators. Thank you, teachers. Thank you, everyone, for this very difficult year. We're coming to an end, and just everything that you've done. And thank you to all the voters who came out. I was really excited last night when I saw that how many people came out and voted. So just thank you to everyone.
Yes, thank you. Alice?
I was wondering if it would be possible as sort of a thank you and a treat for all our staff and students if on the last day of school we could have a day without masks. I know that's a big leap maybe, but if things go well with the way things look like they're going in the state, it might be nice just for kids and teachers to spend a day looking at the full face of everyone that they worked with over the last year. So just keep that in mind as we proceed forward.
I am sure our administrators will do what is possible under guidelines and CDC recommendations. I'll just leave it at that. But yes, Alice, we're always hopeful. Okay, next, I'm going to go through the administrators. I know Erica had a chance to chime in, and Hayden and Brenda, and I'm assuming maybe they have, if there's anything else, they'll just raise their hands, but I'm assuming they had that opportunity. I just wanted to make sure that Jen hadn't thought of something else, if she wanted to share something, or Chris, or I'm not sure if Penny's on the call.
I don't think so.
Okay. Any other administrators want to chime in with anything?
Sonia, this is Jen. I can certainly chime in. Nothing really new to share that others already haven't, but just know that we're so appreciative of our staff, our parents, and the entire community. You know, the fact that we had the town crew working with us this whole entire year in order, the rec road, the Barrytown Police Department on campus every single day to help with traffic. But words just can't express how much we appreciate the patience, flexibility, ideas, and most importantly, the feedback that we've received from the community at whole. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. Chris?
Thanks, Sonia. I know Erica said it earlier, and many of the board members have said this as well, but I really want to give a heartfelt thank you to the entire Barry community, Barry City, Barrytown, for coming out to vote yesterday. It was a really, I want to share with you, it was a joyous evening for the admin team, and we were just all really, really happy and relieved for our community. And I think going back to one of Alice's points earlier, I forget the context of it, but it stuck in my mind that we have such a chance with schools reopening in the fall and getting to slow down just a bit this summer with this budget in place, that we can really have a chance to reset and breathe and start anew. And I think that is just something we're all going to welcome. So once again, Barry community, thanks for stepping up, and we all appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Chris. And Brenda, you have your hand raised. Go ahead, Brenda.
Yeah, it seems appropriate since we started about Spalding graduation that maybe we end about Spalding graduation. And I would like to invite the entire community to join us on June 26th. Hopefully it is at 11 for a community celebration in support of our students. They have definitely had a tough go in the last year and a half. But, that is only the culmination of their 12, 13 plus years in our Barry school systems. And we're really looking forward to this being a real, true community gathering and event, which there has been little opportunity to do for a very, very long time. And we're looking at this as a gigantic celebration.
Thank you, Brenda. And David, did you have anything else?
Yes, I did. Again, I want to thank everyone who came out and voted, and for all the people who worked tirelessly all through this budget process to help us with that. I really appreciated all of that. And I wanted to let the board and the public know that enrollments have finished for our summer program with the YMCA, and I'm pleased to report that we have just a little bit over 250 students enrolled in an engaging summer program. And I think that's a really great opportunity for Barre children.
Awesome. Thank you. I also want to thank the community for coming out to vote. I want to thank everybody that voted. I want to thank everyone that posted. I actually, appreciate all of the questions that we've been asked and the participation at the meetings and the discussion that I've had with lots of different people about lots of different things that have to do with the budget. And so I appreciate that people are engaged, and I just wanted to recognize that, because I think the more that people get involved and understand how school funding works and how the budget works, it's really important, and it helps our entire community, and most importantly, it helps our students. The other thing I wanted to say was I had the opportunity to chaperone the senior prom, which is not technically associated with the school, but it is the group of seniors who decided to attend prom. And I have to tell you, I was hesitant to do this because first of all, my daughter was attending with a friend as a guest, and I started to realize I was going to be supervising all of these very mature young adults, I'll say. And I was nervous about how the whole night would go and what my job would be. And they were really a pleasure to be around. They were polite. They actually danced. They had fun with their friends. And it was a really enjoyable event. And so I just wanted to say a shout out to that senior class. They were a good bunch of kids to be around, or young adults to be around for the evening. So I really appreciated that. And it was nice to be able to see them all. And they looked amazing in all of their fancy gowns and suits and whatever they had decided to wear. So it was really a lot of fun. Guy?
Yeah, I just want to give a final shout out to you, Sonia, for our leader. I think you've done a great job. And for the people who've been on, even, I don't know how many on tonight, I can't tell, but really appreciate, I think at the end of the day, we have students' needs as what we want to have an end result. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And Sonia, have a good wedding.
I'm going to a wedding. I'm already married, but I'm going to a wedding. Thank you, Guy. Andrea.
Yes, I am just going to publicly apologize to my son. I missed his induction into the National Honor Society tonight because I was here. So, David, I am sorry. It is on the record.
Well, thank you for being here, Andrea. I appreciate it. I'm sorry you had to miss that. We appreciate you being here more than you'll know. So thank you for that. And I'm sorry that you had this conflict. Now we're moving on to future agenda items. And we have quite a few things that we've pushed to June 24th, including a further discussion about the Barre City Elementary and Middle School principal, not just a discussion about how do the process used to hold or fill interim positions, but also where we are in the process of actually hiring someone for that position. So there's two things. We have tabled the RAN recommendation approval. We have the recommendation of HHV report recipients, which we're going to put to June 24th. We have the FY21 financials. We have vision, mission, and strategic goals. Is there anything that I missed? Guy? Guy, you have your, no.
Sorry. Sorry.
Go ahead. Sarah, go ahead.
It's in the parking lot list of items, but I just want to make sure it's on the June 24th about discussion of the surplus funds.
Yep, got it. Yep, we will put that on June 24th. I think that is probably, is there anything else that anyone would like to add either for next meeting or for a future meeting that we could put into the parking lot? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. The next meeting date is June 24th, 5:30. After that, we're going to move to 11, which is executive session. Hey, Guy, can you mute yourself? Guy. I can't mute him. We're going into executive session. We have 11.1, the AFSCME contract, and we have 11.2, which is the BEA grievance deliberation session. We don't actually need to do deliberation, but I would like to give you an update on how that was settled. So I will leave BEA grievance on there as executive session, but we'll just drop the deliberation session off because there's nothing to deliberate. It's just an update for you on how the grievance has been resolved. So I will look for the first motion, which is Andrea's going to read it for us.
That you're going to agree to find that premature general public knowledge of these items proposed for discussion would clearly place the Barre Unified Union School District at a substantial disadvantage should the discussion be public.
Thank you, Andrea. Can I get a first? Thank you, Sarah. And a second?
Second, Guy.
Thanks, Guy. All those in favor, please signify with a thumbs up. Guy? Abby? I'm sorry, I'm looking across the screen. Abby, Tim, I saw your thumbs. Sarah, Chris, Alice, Renee, and Renee raised her hand. I'm going to assume that's a thumbs up. And Gina, yes. Okay. So the motion passes. And David, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes. I would like to invite Carol Merrill and Lisa Pearl and Chris Hennessy into the conversation about the AFSCME contract.
Will we, for the second, the BEA grievance, will we also invite any of those three? Or
no, I don't think it's necessary.
okay. So we'll have, I'll look for a motion to go into executive session with the board, and we will invite in Carol, Lisa, and Chris. And Carrie Lamb, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Can I just ask what AFSCME is?
I'm not sure what it stands for.
No, it's the association for some clerical workers and our maintenance workers. So it's the acronym for their union association.
Does someone know what that stands for? Anyone? No. David Delcor has his hand raised. Go ahead, David. David? David Delcor?
Finding it, yeah. It's the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees.
Thank you, David.
And while I'm on here, do you expect action?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, is there, yes.
We have, I presume David Wells is coming in also.
Oh, yes, sorry, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. Do we have a motion on the table? No, we need a motion. David, I think, gave us our list. Did we? No, we need a motion.
So moved.
Thanks, Sarah. And a second?
Second, Guy.
Thanks, Guy. All those in favor of moving into executive session, please signify with a thumbs up. Guy, Abby, Tim, Sarah, Renee, Gina, Chris, Alice. All right, excellent. So, David, have you sent us a link?
Yes, I have to the board and to the guests.
Perfect. All right, so thank you, everybody, and we will see you on June 24th. And for the board and our other visitors, we'll see you in executive session. Thanks, everybody.